Hello guys, welcome to today's session. Today I will have to continue from our last session. After ending the session, I noticed there were some parts of the application that we didn't test properly. For example, I noticed a user could still perform withdrawal even with an invalid pin. I noticed a user could initiate a withdrawal by supplying us a 0 as the withdrawal amount. So this session is just an extension of the last session for us to make sure that the correct things are actually put into place. So to start with, I'm going to show us something. Now, I just tried this now. I noticed if I hit withdrawal with a 0 as amount, I'm still getting successful. If I pass 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, I'm still getting withdrawal successful, which should not be so, right? Which should not be so. So if we check our transactions table, we'll notice that all of these things are actually being recorded, which doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. This should not be happening. So now let's start with making sure that the correct pin is actually passed into the system for validation. So to start with, let me check our controller. That will be withdrawal account controller. So if we check here, we are setting the account, we are setting the pin. At this point, inside our withdrawal, we are supposed to check if the user is actually sending the correct pin into the system. So that's the first thing we are going to tackle out of. Then also we will also need to undo all the exceptions that we didn't undo in the previous video. So please stay with me while we actually go through each of these issues one after the other. So now what we are supposed to, so even though we are checking if the pin is valid, so the only time, so when the pin is valid, validate pin, when the pin, let's check our validate pin. So in our validate pin, we are checking if pin has been set. If pin has not been set, we are returning we are throwing an exception. Then also we are checking for the pin that is being supplied. So what we must do now is we must see what is actually going on, because even when a valid pin is supplied, which this, let me remove all of these side stuffs. Let me remove this. So even when the pin is valid, when it is true, this exception should still be thrown. But for some reason, the exception is not being thrown, which I don't really understand why for now. So let's do something. Let's copy what is inside here, copy, and do a die dump. And go to our postman, hit the endpoints. Let's see what is happening. We are getting false. We are getting false. The pin is invalid for 1, 2, 3, 4. We are still getting false. So what exactly is going on? What's the correct pin that we have set? Because during the process of onboarding, we set this pin and it's actually working correctly. If I try to set pin now, pin has already been set. So that means something is actually going wrong with what we've done. So let me try to validate pin. Pin is valid. But when we come to this withdrawal, we are getting false. Let me come to validate pin 1, 2, 3, 4. Let me do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You see, we are getting invalid. But for 1, 2, 3, 4 here, we are getting valid. So that means we are doing something wrong right here for this to still be returning false for when we supply the correct pin. So let's check our API and see what we actually did right here that we are doing wrong over there. So this accepts the pin is valid, right? So I think we are on track. So let's just see if we are actually supplying the correct pin over here. What's the pin that is being supplied? Now you can imagine the pin that is being supplied is for Jews. Can you imagine? We are not setting the correct pin value during the process of passing this withdrawal DTO. So we are going to get to our account withdrawal controller. Then let's see set pin. You see, we are passing description instead of pin. So that's where the issue is coming from. So if we hit this now, we are getting 1, 2, 3, 4. So that means our pin is now being correctly picked up. So if we come over here, then hit, we are getting through now. So the reason why this was not being thrown at the end of the day is because it has always been false. It has always been false. So it's never we never got a truthy value. So in order to, if we hit this endpoint with the correct pin now, that validation will be thrown. So you can see pin is invalid. So we must say when it is actually false, right? Now you see our withdrawal is successful. Yet we still have an issue. Our amount being supplied as withdrawal amount is 0, which does not make any sense. So we need to state minimum withdrawal amount. So our minimum, let's set our minimum withdrawal amount. Let me just say, let me go to the account query and I will create a constant. Should I put it on the transaction model or should I put it on the account model? I know we did something in our account service when we are doing for deposits. We set something as minimum deposit or something. I'm not sure. Let me search for it. Deposit. So we see we have minimum deposit. We didn't do the same thing for withdrawal. So we need to do something similar for withdrawal. So we come here in our withdrawal just before performing a withdrawal. So minimum withdrawal that will be our withdrawal DTO, get amount minimum withdrawal. So we have to throw this exception. So what we need to pick now is we need to create an exception called withdrawal amounts exception. Let's say exception withdrawal amount too low exception. Yes. So we will call this withdrawal amount too low exception. We come in here, we've made the exception. So if we come to, let's go to our deposits, deposit amount controller. Let's copy this. Let's go in here. Let's paste. Withdrawal amount must be greater than the expected amount. So let's go to our account service, minimum withdrawal. So if we come back here now, try to hit this endpoint, you see minimum withdrawal amount must be greater than 500, greater than or equals to 500. Must be greater than or equal to 500. So we should be able to accept 500, although currently it won't work, but we adjust our code to accept 500. This should even not be in a string. Okay, withdrawal successful. So so that works. So if we come back to our database now and check our transactions, you can see the 500. So if I supply 499.999999, we should get the error. Withdrawal must be greater than or equals to. So we need to like catch this withdrawal must be greater than or equals to in our handler. So let's go to our handler, just like we've been doing all through the process of working with this handler. So we come here, we catch the exception. We say withdrawal too low exception. So if you come here, the message is showing now. So let's also catch the exception for invalid pin. So for invalid pin, we should be checking for pin before for withdrawal amount. And anyway, it's okay. We can check for them in anyhow. So let's say, let me put 500 so that will go through. Now, pin is invalid. So we need to catch that this exception being thrown as well. This invalid pin as well. Let's go to our handler. Come here. Copy and paste. Invalid pin. Invalid pin exception. So this is a bad request. This is a bad request as well. So if we return here, now we are getting pin is invalid in the topmost message. So these are the things that I have recognized with our application. So the next thing I'm going to undo in the coming video is we are going to check for if our withdrawer is actually checking for a situation whereby a user is trying to be smart in our system, trying to see if they can perform a withdrawal multiple times in this at the same moment. So that is what I'm going to try to see if we can actually fix in the upcoming video. So thank you very much for watching this, and I apologize for not actually catching this in our previous video. Thank you.